So all of these states of mind, they are temporary, these distorted states of mind. Basically, a Mahayanist or a Vajrayanist from the Buddhist tradition would say, and I would say, although not based on my direct experience so much, but I copy what my teachers say, what they say is that basically we're okay. Often religious traditions emphasize how basically we're not okay. We're sinful. We need God, we need this, we need punishment, whatever we need, but we're not okay. So the Buddhist point of view is, yeah, temporarily not so good at all, but ultimately, potentially, perfect. Perfect. You know? In the sense that the spacious, clear, warm, intelligent state of mind that we have at a very subtle level has no problems. There is no problem involved with that at all. So therefore, we can say this sitting upright reminds us of that, can remind us of that. But we don't need to bow down in some depressed, servile, self-pitying manner. Those days are gone. Also because others need help. So how can we help others if we are indulging in all of the nonsense we indulge in, right? And the front of the body being open is just that. We are open because one of the attributes of this primordial goodness that we have is warmth and kindness. So the front of the body open represents that. We're willing to share with others. Not just willing, we're happy to do that. You know, willing suggests that, okay, take care. But no, this is, one is automatically radiating, just like the sun. Sun is not like, oh, I'm willing to shed light on this earth with all of its whatever's going on. No, the sun naturally shines. There's radiation happening. So in that way, the posture can remind us of our basic dignity, basic primordial goodness, basic warmth, and also a sense of basic precision. We're not just sitting any which way we want, you know, in some kind of trendy, casual fashion. No, there's a sense of discipline as well. Discipline in the ultimate sense of that term, or at least another sense, not some kind of enforced discipline, but being a disciple. Discipline involves being a disciple. A disciple of what? You could say a disciple of basic goodness, a disciple of wisdom and compassion, disciple of the ultimate guru, which is inside. Temporarily reminded, we are reminded of the ultimate guru by an external person who we call guru, to whom we are eternally grateful, of course, but their job is to connect us with the inner guru, which never dies. External guru, you could say, yeah, gets old, picks their nose, does all sorts of things, and then they die. But the inner guru never dies. Never, even after so-called death. So anyway, this posture can remind us of all these things. And while reminding us of all these things, it can also remind us of the motivation of compassion, because most people on this planet, let alone insects, animals, and all the other poor beings, they have no idea of this. They're just carry on struggling in an ignorant way, going round in circles. And we can just think of the humans. Their repetitive, habitual, ignorant, sort of close-minded, unwise behavior that keeps on getting them into trouble. Despite wanting happiness, chasing after the causes of suffering, as Shantideva says, as he sadly looks at the situation of sentient beings. Isn't it? Everyone we know, think of someone you know who doesn't want happiness, doesn't want some kind of satisfaction. You won't find anyone. It may appear that they are so strange that they keep on getting into trouble, but they don't actually want suffering. They may be used to it. They may even identify with it, actually, but do they really want it deep down in their deepest of deep hearts or whatever? Buddhists would say no. But, you can think about that. Have you ever in your life wanted with all your heart to suffer rather than be comfortable and happy? It's important we reflect on this for something real. It's not a rhetorical question. We have to think about this and feel it because we're going to apply it to other people. That's part of the motivation, as you know, is to develop some kind of unconditional love and compassion for others, at least to mimic it, at least to aspire to that. We can only do that when we see that others are in the same situation as I am, not different. So the situation is a very poignant one, very moving one in some way. Here we are, knowing that, or having a sense there could be a primordial goodness and awake quality within us, which is accessible to some extent all the time, right? And here we have a situation in this world, in this samsara, where most people, 99 point something percent, are simply going through the motions of life without proper awareness, not finding final satisfaction at all. And even at a superficial glance, suffering so much, let alone the inner suffering we cannot see. But just we look at people, we see their lives, we see their sicknesses, we see the way they relate with one another, and we say, wow, how sad. And there could develop not only a sadness, a good sadness, but also a weariness with ordinary, habitual, arrogant behavior that arises from ego. By arrogant, we mean ignorant and self-cherishing, unknowingly even, self-centered, all of it leading to pain. It's no wonder the Buddha started. That was the first teaching he gave, the very first teaching, because that's what he saw. He himself had achieved great bliss, awakening, total spaciousness, primordial goodness, 24/7, but he couldn't say that to us, the first thing. He had to tell us where we're at. The doctor tells the patient where they're at, a good doctor. Doesn't give them some cloud cuckoo land tale about how, perfect they are. Not yet. So reflect on what I've said, because you may not be familiar or agree with some of it. The Buddha said we are all in a state of unsatisfactoriness because we have somehow squeezed our natural spaciousness into a kind of a ball of constricted, unhappy, frustrated energy. And we don't know that that's happened. We don't know how it's happened, and we don't know how to get out of it. Ordinarily, we don't know. It's like we're in the thick of a bad nightmare, and there's no chance of waking up yet. Please reflect on this. No hurry. As we reflect, relate it obviously to one's own experience. This is not theoretical. We're not talking theory. This is happening all the time for us and others. And one might say most of our life is about trying to distract ourselves from the truth of the situation, because it's so painful. And it makes us very queasy and afraid. So much so we can't sit still and watch and be with our mind for even 1 minute without distraction. So we can perhaps remember the lines from the Four Immeasurables with some background now, some taste to them. They stop becoming just theory or words. So when we say how wonderful it would be if all beings had happiness and the causes of happiness, and how wonderful it would be if they were free of suffering and the causes of suffering, then it has some meaning. And for people who are already well on the path and the bodhisattvas, it makes them very sad, but also motivated to see how beings with the potential to become fully enlightened and awake are destroying themselves with habitual patterns and self-grasping ignorance, self-cherishing activity. So hence, in the Mahayana interpretation of the Four Immeasurables, we have that third line, which says, I myself will enable beings to be free of suffering and its causes. I myself. However ambitious or foolish that sounds, but one feels that one wants to take responsibility to help. I myself will enable them to be free of suffering and its causes. I myself will enable them to have happiness and the causes of happiness in whatever way I can. And of course, those who take Bodhisattva vow, they vow that they will keep on doing this until all beings are enlightened. is basically long-term vocation. Very little chance of unemployment. Okay, so think in order to be any real benefit to others or to myself, let alone others, there needs to be some stability to the mind, okay, some stability. And only on the basis of that will one be able to develop insight, clarity and insight into how we make a mess or how we are caught up in the, what should we say, the tentacles of self-grasping ignorance, this hallucination around who we think we are, what we are. So we'll sit for 6 or 7 minutes, being aware of breath, sensation of breath as we breathe in and out, sense of relaxing with the out breath, letting go completely with the out breath. When thoughts, memories, or plans come, we notice in a relaxed fashion, but we let them go. We don't follow them, let go, and back to the breath. And we let go with the out breath. So let's try that for 6 or 7 minutes. Okay. All right, so thank you, everyone. Today we have two people from Australia, Jan as well as Ajirji, and welcome to everybody else. And six people here at Tushita, 7 including myself. So I thought today we'll have some more discussion as well as reflections, meditation even, although meditation is a bit of a strong word when we understand what it is. It's very hard to actually meditate. What I mainly do is, we could say, what's the verb connected with distraction? Anyway, distractate or whatever. One is distracted, one is here and there, whereas proper meditation might be pure and complete awareness without grasping. That's one definition. Or habituating the mind to that which is wholesome. That's another definition. So maybe one attempts to habituate the mind to what is wholesome, a wholesome object. That, yes. But as you may have discovered in the last 7-8 minutes, having a calm, clear mind focused on breath, not that easy. It's quite challenging. And so part of the practice is not to get uptight, but to stay relaxed even when the mind is distracted, but to notice it and come back to the breath. So that in itself is something wonderful, which potentially could help us everywhere, whether we're here at Tushita or outside in the big bad world of traffic and other people rushing around and so on and so forth. Yeah. Okay. So as I said, let me fulfill my commitment that I made just a few minutes ago, that let's have some discussion as well. So you see, we've been discussing the first immeasurable for the last couple of weeks, it seems like. In other words, let me recite that immeasurable in all of the 4 lines of it that we have in the Mahayana tradition, and then just to remind us. So in its full form, in the Mahayana tradition, we say how wonderful it would be if all beings had happiness and the causes of happiness. May they have happiness and its causes. I myself will enable them to have happiness and its causes. And the last line, Gurus, Buddhas, bestow your inspiring strength to enable me to do this. Of course, the last line may not be that relevant for someone who's not a Buddhist or doesn't have a guru. But what the last line is implying is that, we make this incredible wish, aspiration, to be able to help beings be happy and have the causes of it. But we need some help, right? We need some inspiration, we need guidance at the moment. How many of us can say, okay, I know what to do, I can do it totally on my own, don't need any help, any guidance, any inspiring strength? We know that we can't yet. So also out of a sense of humility, knowing that we can't do it all by ourselves, we request the Guru Buddhas to grant their blessings. Thank you. Their inspiring strength, which is another way of saying blessings. So I once asked a Lama, what do you mean by blessings? It's a word which is used so much in the different religions. What do you mean by blessings? And he said, well, just think of your teacher, because he knew I had a teacher. And he said, think of your teacher who's been so kind to you, and imagine that that teacher is there and smiling at you. And then how do you feel at that moment? You know, you feel some happiness, some inspiration, some inspiring strength. So that is blessings, you know. People who are more traditional in India, when they touch the feet of their elders with conviction, I mean, those who really mean it, those are not just doing it because they're supposed to, but if they're really doing it out of conviction, or at the feet of their guru, that is like a blessing for those people. It gives them some inspiring strength, however much it may be, you know, scoffed at by more scientific type people. Thank you. You know, that's anyway. So the last line is, please, Guru Buddhas, seeing the unity of the Guru and Buddha, not seeing them as separate. In the same way that we have that sense that oneself is also a potential Buddha, not separate totally from Buddha. So please, Guru Buddhas, bestow your inspiring strength. Excuse me. Bestow your inspiring strength to enable me to do that, to do this. You know, it's no small task to even help one person, right? To be free, you know, to have happiness in its causes. We know how stubborn the human mind can be, our own mind, other people's minds. So we definitely need some inspiring strength. That's for sure. That's for sure. So, okay, that's the immeasurable. And we've been focusing on the first aspect, which is we've been suggesting quite strongly that to create happiness and the causes of happiness for others is impossible if we have not started with looking at ourselves. How can we help others if we don't know how to help ourselves? How can we save others from drowning if we are drowning ourselves, you know? This is why in, for example, at the same time I was reading Buddhism as a teenager, I was also reading Carl Gustav Jung, the great Jungian psychotherapist. And so reading around that, also other psychotherapeutic traditions that were there at that time in London, especially. And anyway, one of the points that they made was that, you know, you have to, you know, a good therapist, they have to undertake therapy themselves, right? They have to undertake therapy themselves first. They have to submit themselves to that process before they submit others to it, you know, at their own hands. So there's that sense. If we're not able to understand our own needs and our own problems and work with them with compassion and love, how on earth do you expect to do it for others? It would be a bit of a sham. It would be, at best, maybe just intellectual. It wouldn't really help the other person, and we would be deceiving ourselves. So this is why we've been focusing on that aspect. And that's actually there even in the traditional Theravadan presentation of loving kindness, because there they say, you know, may I be well and happy. You know, may I be free from suffering. May I be well and happy. May I be, free from ill will. They have that. And there's also this famous quote of the Buddha that, you know, he said he searched all of the directions of space and he couldn't find anybody more worthy of love than himself. Meaning, one is also one of the crowd. Oneself is just as much worthy of love and compassion as anybody else. So that we have to therefore balance the Mahayana perspective of benefiting others with the fact that, look, we can't do that. unless we have also taken care of ourselves. It becomes a very flimsy foundation if we haven't worked on ourselves first and helped ourselves first. If we're unkind to ourselves, and then we're, pretending that, it's kind of pretense to think that we're really helping or being kind to other people. It's a bit of a sham. And it could lead to burnout and actually resentment. I help others, but, I myself, well, I'm just, basically not worthy of it. Many people might feel that deep down, for whatever reason. For whatever reason. Okay, so let's have some, I'm sure there's things to discuss, even if you haven't heard any of our previous Zoom sessions on this matter. There may be some things you want to point out or reflect on. This is not question and answer, it's discussion. Not yet dialogue, because dialogue is something very high. One day we'll talk more about dialogue, and in the sense that Samdong Rinpoche Ji and David Bohm and others talk about dialogue. That's something very deep. But we can have some discussion, possibly. Unlike the discussions on the news, right? No shouting match. And we'll listen. You'll try and listen carefully when somebody's speaking, and only speak ourselves if we have something worthwhile to say. That might sound a bit cruel to say that, but I think that's worth saying. If we have something worthwhile to say and we know how to say it, then we say it. Otherwise, we may be wasting other people's time. So if we can adhere to those disciplines, that would be great. Anybody here at Tushita? And then we'll go online. Although, okay, Ashwin has already raised his hand, so we better bow to that. Yeah, Ashwinji, speak up.
Yeah, Kabirji, this is a question I've been struggling with the last few days. How can we distinguish between this self-love and self-cherishing?
And what have you come up with? How to distinguish between self-love, he says, and self-cherishing. Isn't self-cherishing okay? You have to tell us what you mean by self-cherishing, because to cherish, a mother cherishing her child is considered very good. So what's wrong with cherishing oneself?
I don't know. I feel like self-cherishing is more selfish and only thinking about me and not really thinking about others.
Okay, you think of it that way, all right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What if you need to take care of yourself at a particular time and you don't, it's not, appropriate at that time to think much about others? What about that? Say you are hurt or in pain or in need of some, really you need time on your own or to help yourself because you are whatever, emotionally or physically injured, then what's wrong with cherishing yourself at that time?
Yeah, I feel like sometimes maybe, I don't know, it's confusing, but sometimes maybe it's also like an excuse to put up a barrier between myself and others, that I say that I can't really be there for others because I need to be there for myself. So it's very hard to tell when I really need to be there for myself or when I'm just being selfish.
Is this the mind just needlessly going around in circles, or is there a real dilemma there, do you think?
I feel like it's a real dilemma at this point.
What do you, maybe it helps to think, what do I really need? What do I really want? And what do others really want? And what can I effectively do right now for others? And don't forget what people like, they're all saying, but I'm just remembering right now what Zongsa Rinpoche says in his book, I think in maybe both of his books, but mainly in Not for Happiness, his guide to the so-called preliminary practices. He says, aspiration is very, very important at the beginning. That you may feel, and it may be the case, that we cannot do anything right now for people in a meaningful way, but we can aspire sincerely to be able to do so, for example. So aspiration is very powerful, because if we don't even have the aspiration, then we'll never try. But we can have the aspiration to be of great benefit to others, recognizing how, people need help. No? Have you tried aspiration?
Yeah.
Which is what Buddhist practice is, right? It's prayers and aspirations and so forth. Maybe let's get some help from somebody else here or online. I don't have any definitive answer to that. If one's a very intuitive person, maybe one knows pretty quickly what is self-cherishing and what is authentic, just taking care of yourself, and what is more selfish. Navinji, are you about to say something?
I had a similar thought in my mind.
Are you online also? You were
Yes,
online.
yes.
If you're online, then the people online will hear you better. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Will they?
I'll
Anyway, I can repeat also what you say.
probably better, I guess.
No, carry on. Take it. No, I will repeat what you say. It might take time.
Yeah.
Hmm.
No, I had similar thoughts to Ashwin, and there are 2-3 suggestions which we hear, but how to implement it seems to be difficult. First is the suggestion you get that you have to be okay to be able to help others. So you need to take care of yourself to help others. That seems to be one advice you keep hearing.
Well, to be okay, you can interpret that in different ways, but
yes. So how do you cherish and take care of yourself and love yourself in a way that will help you to love others?
this is what we've been talking about for 3 weeks. So
And
can you remember?
Yet the suggestion then again is there is still a difficulty, because at a certain moment, do you take care of yourself, or so there is always a question of practically at that specific moment, how do you prioritize? And again, you a lot of times you feel guilty when you prioritize yourself over giving time to somebody else. Whenever you end up prioritizing yourself, you feel a certain guilt. So then the third move then comes into how what is the skill and how do you acquire the skill to be able to intuitively or skillfully navigate this prioritizing at every moment seems to be the difficult task.
Of course, so how to prioritize? Well, I'm no expert at this, but I will tell you something that Trungpa Rinpoche said. He, of course, made this difficult journey, like many Tibetans, across the Himalayas. And their party lost members to the Chinese. Some people died, of course, of the cold or whatever, their old age. They couldn't manage the crossing, which took a few months. He was asked by a child many years later, either in England or in the United States. He was having an interview with children. And Trungpa was asked, so how did you manage, when you were in danger, how did you manage to escape? How did you know what to do? How did you know what to do, right? That seems to be part of your question, right? How do we know what to do in any situation? And he said, of course, he was answering to a child, but I think he would have answered similarly to anybody, perhaps. He said, well, I would sit. I would just sit and meditate. I don't think he even used the word meditate. He would have, I think he said to the child, I think you can find this in his book, possibly Born in Tibet, or anyway, I can maybe source it later. But he said, I sit. And then, some kind of clarity comes, some kind of clarity comes when we sit and, in other words, slow down, pay attention, all of that, right? Slow down, pay attention of this whirring mind, which will be giving you, trying to give you answers every second, some blah, blah, subliminal gossip going on, all the time. So then what seems clear when one slows down and pays attention. And unfortunately, if we're highly intelligent and sort of also people who teach others and are academics, we may have, just too many thoughts going on. If we are not more, I don't know, poet or painter or, I don't know, a bungee jumper, I don't know, these people may have less thoughts, I don't know. So we overthink, don't you think? I overthink. So then there's no space to see what is clear. There's too much cloud in the way of the sun. That's what I think. Not that thinking is wrong or that we cannot think creatively or usefully. I'm not saying that, but usually it's random stuff coming up, right? Which is not that helpful. So I don't know. Also, you can see what are the results of the way I behave. Does it seem to be benefiting? Is guilt benefiting you? And there's a lot being spoken about guilt. It's something apparently that the Dalai Lama felt really there wasn't a word for guilt in the Tibetan language. There was a word for regret, and healthy regret is always mentioned as something very useful, but guilt, I don't know, that's maybe more of something more modern that dysfunctional modern societies come up with. Vinoji, we have a psychotherapist sitting in our midst, although she wouldn't want that advertised. Bataiye.
Like having self-doubt.
Huh?
Guilt comes in the form of self-doubt.
Self-doubt. You'll have to speak up. Or I'll have to get Naveen. Well, no, Naveen also has a soft voice. Yeah.
It's like lack of clarity in one's own
Yeah.
thing that one has taken.
Lack of clarity in one's own stand that one has taken. You're saying that leads to guilt. Okay.
Once you've taken a stand,
Yeah.
you will not be able to help the other, help yourself in that moment.
There's no guilt. Right.
When you're not convinced about that stand, that raises guilt.
Right. So you're saying guilt really is a result of what we might call distraction, distracted mind, which is not focused properly in the moment on the issue at hand. Is that what you're saying? Kind of?
Not distraction. Basically lack of clarity.
Lack of clarity. So, but what creates lack of clarity? What creates lack of clarity? Sorry, I'll have to mute people if you allow noise, background sounds to come. Sorry. Yeah, so, yeah. Okay. Sorry.
When you do anything to oneself and then you feeling you've done it or you have planned to do it and you then ignore somebody else and then guilt is coming, it somewhere means that the self-esteem is questionable.
Yeah, so it comes down to self-esteem. Yeah, that's, I think I'd agree. And so also Dalai Lama Ji was very surprised, apparently, when he first heard, I think from the mouth of Jetsunma Tenzin Pamo, that people have, especially in the West, people have a lot of issues around not loving themselves and even self-hatred. And the Dalai Lama assumed a kind of, wow, really? First it was as though he didn't understand what she was saying because they didn't have that problem in Tibet. Or at least it was not, maybe they did have a bit of it, but it was not something that was well known or spoken about, I don't know. But he felt that, just wasn't the case. And Thai Situ Rinpoche Ji also has made a similar point when in his book, I think, Relative World, Ultimate Mind, where he says that traditional societies, like in Tibet, we didn't make big issues out of death and relationship and sex and all the rest of it. It wasn't a big deal for these societies, We were much more natural and earthy, and none of these things were a big problem for us. But for modern people, we've made everything a problem. Modern urban people, we made everything into a problem. And so that's interesting, And it's obviously a function also of our education, our way of life, so many things. Upbringing, people trying to do so much at once so that children don't get a earthy, upbringing with full attention from at least one of the parents, whatever. So Sita Rinpoche has also mentioned this in his book, in the chapter on healing the body and healing the mind. Self-esteem is a big issue. Big issue. That's why when we meditate, we take the trouble to sit up straight and at least pretend at that point that we're kind of okay. We may be struggling with it, but we're going to sit that way and see how it is, and not slouch and not, give in to neurosis. We try to stay with the breath, for example. And when we do that, even for a little while, it's like, where is the hurt at that point? Where is the problem in that moment? There is no problem. But then the mind then gets distracted and then it remembers something, and then it becomes a problem. It's all to do with the function of how we think, it seems. If we were really in the present moment, fully, heartfeltedly, then where would the problem ever arise? This is something that far more enlightened people than me have said. So it's something for us to consider. And their point is we don't have to dig amongst the remnants of a person's past all the time and spend hours and hours submitting them to analysis, which quite frankly doesn't help many people sometimes after years and years. But if they were to be able to just be present fully in a meaningful, healthy way, intelligent way, then where's the problem? Of course, maintaining that state takes effort initially. But also, they would say, the people who've done the meditation do say that when one is working with deeper levels of the shamatha practice, a cleansing happens and all sorts of stuff can arise from the psyche when one is doing that practice, because everything is being cleansed in a sense. So one has to then just be with whatever's arising, and many traumatic things can arise. But at that point, the meditator usually has the ability to observe without identifying with that material. Because when we identify, it seems we're lost at that point. When we identify with the hurt, we identify with the fear or whatever. But if it just arises in the space of the mind and is not clung to, then it comes and it goes. But easier said than done. Easier said than done. People like you would lose your jobs if everyone could do that. They wouldn't come to you, You have to find another profession. Yeah. Arunaji, what do you think? You're just listening. Like Bob, you're a backbencher. Very good. Take care. Backbenchers are an essential part of the democratic process. Yeah. Ajirji, Vikramji, Haridun has joined us from Mumbai, from Oval Maidan. Wonderful. Who else? Anyone? No? Okay, so that means people want to meditate. Very good. So that's what we'll do now. We will, as I mentioned in the posting, I always put out these very aspirational, wonderful postings on mobile phones that I can't find. Okay. So we'll reflect. What did I put in the posting today? Something like, yeah, I write these when I'm pretty fresh in the morning. Okay. What might dignity be? Do I manifest gentleness in my way of living? Okay, let's look at that. let's look at that. Do I manifest dignity and gentleness in my way of living? Let me just say a few words and then we'll reflect on it. By dignity, I don't know, have you ever seen somebody, when's the last time you saw somebody walk down the street or just was there who you felt was a very dignified person? Not arrogant, not uptight, not puffing out their chest, not a soldier on parade, dignified. When did you last see or yourself manifest dignity, what you would call dignity? And I'm not going to spell out what it is. It may mean different things to different people, but probably the dictionary definition is quite useful. So actually, let's look at, I will read out the dictionary definition, because these definitions can be very useful and interesting. Okay. All right. Google Swami. Dignity. Someone may have got there before me, but never mind. Dignity salon? No, dignity meaning. Okay, a calm, serious behavior that makes other people respect you. Goodness me. Is that yours? Good grief. Where are the others? Welcome. Calm, serious behavior that makes other people respect you. Okay. The quality of being serious and formal. Garima. Garima. Shant or Gambhir Acharan. Dignity. I'm thinking also of photographs I've seen of Maasai tribesmen from South Africa, right? Or village women in their saris walking down the street. Somehow it seems very dignified compared to how a lot of people walk in other places. Dignity also, certain teachers I've met, they exude a kind of dignity without having to do, and they're not over serious either. It's not like they're trying to maintain a holier than thou serious attitude, but there's a dignity. I wonder what some other definitions are. What is the true meaning of dignity? The quality of being worthy, honored, or esteemed. The quality of being esteemed, not being put in a pressure cooker. The Cambridge Dictionary, calm, serious, controlled behavior that makes people respect you. What does the Oxford Dictionary say, I wonder? Collins. If someone behaves or moves with dignity, they are calm, controlled, and admirable. Decorum, breeding, gravity, majesty. If you talk about the dignity of people or their lives or activities, you mean that they are valuable and worthy of respect. So that's quite interesting, because what we're saying is that everybody is worthy of dignity, is worthy, that everyone is valuable. Everyone is worthy of respect. Anyway, you get a sense of what we're talking about, right? If you are wrong, admit it. You won't lose dignity, but will gain respect. She still has her dignity. Synonyms: self-importance, pride, self-esteem, morale. Okay, so if we say too much, it gets confusing. So just reflect on your own life, or what you feel you understand by that word, or more than the word, actually, the meaning, and the meaning as it translates into people's lives that you may know, and your own life. Is there dignity? Or as often there seems to be a sense of running around in circles, almost like a headless chicken. Yeah. What manifests in our life? Do we experience dignity? Spend a few minutes on this. Well, and this is not a of course, we're not here in judgment on ourselves. This is an exploration, right? It's an investigation. It's not a witch hunt or something like that. You could also think of it this way. When I walk around in my house or in the street, and if someone were videoing me, would somebody watching that say that person is dignified? They exude a sense of dignity. Or you may have seen videos of certain traditions of how to walk in the Buddhist monastic tradition, or walking meditation. Is that dignified? Does that exude a sense of dignity? Look at it from different angles if necessary. This is analytical meditation. If there were a video CCTV in my kitchen or bathroom, do I bathe with dignity? Do I cook with dignity? What are my head and shoulders like when I'm cooking, when I'm bathing, whatever? Is there a, I don't know, fluidity, a dignity in how I move, how I hold my body? Is there dignity in the way I speak? Or do I speak in a manner that is kind of disjointed and, I don't know, just not very calm, flowing, clear, direct? How do I speak? Is it dignified? Do I speak like, I don't know, Donald Trump, or do I speak like the Dalai Lama, or somewhere in between? We'll leave out the thoughts for now. That are my thoughts dignified? Although, of course, you could say it all starts in the mind. If I think I'm somehow unworthy, then I probably won't radiate much dignity. And you might want this to also flow into our reflection on gentleness. Are you gentle with yourself? Are you gentle with others? Do you see your own mind, yourself, and others basically as a threat, as something to be very wary of? Do you treat old dogs in the street as something to be very wary of? Are you ever gentle with animals? How do you react when you stub your foot against something? Do you get annoyed with yourself for not looking properly? What do you do? Reflect on these small things which may tell us something about how gentle we are. Do you think gentleness is weakness? Is it something only mothers should have? Are we gentle? And also reflect on this. How do we talk to people? I think this is a big issue in India. How do we talk to people we think are above us, the same as us, and somehow below us? Are we gentle? Which doesn't mean we can't be firm as well, but are we gentle? If you don't know the meaning of that word, then look it up. When you wake up in the morning not feeling so good sometimes, how do you treat yourself? What do you think? What do you do? When you get sick, what do you do? What do you feel? What do you think? Again, this is an investigation, not a court. And of course, each of these topics may require a lot of or more investigation. But the third thing, for a few minutes, these qualities of dignity, gentleness, and then these qualities as well as kindness, basic kindness, and a kind of wise discernment, a wise ability to discriminate between what is good for me, what is bad for me, what is good for others, what is not okay for others. Is that present in me as well? Do I manifest that? Especially in terms of my own well-being. Do I manifest wise decisions? Am I kind in general to myself in that sense? In the sense of being kind and wise towards myself? Or am I more kind of sloppy and even reckless? I don't care, just whatever is, And do I regard it as a sign of weakness if I actually show kindness and so forth towards oneself? So please reflect on these topics for 3 or 4 more minutes. Okay. So now you can have some more discussion if you wish for another 15 minutes or so. This is Yoav from Israel, and it's very interesting. Yoav was on a course that I gave at Tushita. When was it? 2004, 6 years ago, 7, whatever. So he noticed that I had holes in my socks. So he gave me a lovely pair of socks, and today I happen to have some very similar socks, not the same ones, because I've been taking care of my feet, trying to practice kindness towards my feet. And because they get cracked, you know. So I've been putting Vaseline and wearing socks. So you came on the same day that I wearing my thick socks, the same kind you gave me that time. Yeah. Huh? Yeah, I bet, yeah. Okay, so I've just told you what I did to be kind to myself, and it really helped. When I was really neglecting my feet, then somebody told me at Root Institute as I was leaving that I need to take care of my heels because they get cracked. And actually they can get very painful. But applying applying Vaseline after putting them in hot water in a bucket for half an hour or more, softening them, then with a, what's it called, loofah, the thing, you know, scraping off the dead skin, applying Vaseline, and then wearing socks even at night. That's really helped. So that's my homework, being kind to my feet. So anyway, any feedback on the reflections we just engaged in from anybody?
I was wondering if dignity has anything to do with morality. Does dignity have anything to do with morality? That's what
morality?
You mentioned morality.
Sorry, you'll have to speak up. My hearing.
When you talk about dignity, you're mentioning morality. I don't know.
I didn't mention that word.
I thought it was morality.
No, discipline at one point, not morality. But what's your point about morality?
I wanted to know what connection is. I wasn't sure what connection is that to dignity. If there isn't.
Maybe in one of the definitions was there morality? I don't think that word came up. But that's an interesting thing. If we are immoral, then can we be dignified as well? Or what do we mean by morality? Why is it one of the three principal? Why is it one of the three higher trainings in Buddhism? Can you remember what the three higher trainings are from your course at Tushita years ago?
I do.
Anyone here remember? Navinji, you should know this in your sleep. What are the three higher trainings?
3 baskets.
Huh?
No.
3 baskets? Yeah. You think you're shopping or what? 3 baskets? Come on, folks, otherwise we stop all of our Zoom sessions until people do their homework properly and do some basic revision. Ashwin, what are the 3 higher trainings in basic Buddhism?
I think it's ethics, concentration, and wisdom.
Right. Ethics or morality, discipline, some might say, and concentration, and then wisdom. You remember, Yoav? Yeah. So why do we need concentration? To develop wisdom. Why do we need wisdom? Okay, basic question. Sorry. Why do we need wisdom? Why do you need wisdom from this Buddhist perspective?
We could be a better help to others.
Huh?
We could be a better service to others.
Because we can be a better service to others? Not the exact right answer. No. Huh?
To understand reality.
And thereby, and therefore that implies that the wisdom is doing what?
To
increase our level of awareness.
Haji?
To increase our level of awareness, going for
Nice
the
number.
absolute truth.
Sorry, if you don't speak very, I don't know, my ears aren't good, but can you speak very precisely and slowly?
Basically, to increase our awareness, level of awareness.
wo to hai, but I'm talking about wisdom right now. What is wisdom? What does wisdom do? Okay, what does wisdom do? What is it used for?
Decision making.
Huh?
Decision making.
Decision making.
Decision making.
This is not management.
Decision making. Buddha never said that wisdom, he wasn't in some kind of modern leadership thing, you know, leadership workshop. No.
I meant from
To
engaging in negative karma perspective to avoid engaging in negative karma.
Of course, yeah, to avoid engaging in negative karma. But what is the prime function of wisdom? Okay, somebody online now. What is the
To-
prime function of wisdom?
I think
Hello?
to accept life as it is. I mean,
To
to
accept life as it is? No, that is not the technical correct 100% answer that will give you full marks. No. Somebody help. Ajirji help. Or Jan help. Jan in Australia. Can you hear us? Our plea. What is the main function of wisdom?
So we have correct understanding.
Of course, but yeah, so what is the direct function? What does wisdom do? If we've realized the wisdom, if we have wisdom realizing ultimate truth, what does it do? What has it actually done to enable us to have that experience of ultimate truth? Okay, I'll make it so very simple. What is wisdom an antidote to?
Ignorance.
Okay. And a more full form of ignorance? Self-grasping ignorance, okay? Self-grasping ignorance, grasping at I, me, mine. That is the function of wisdom. For that, we need concentration. And for that, we need moral conduct. Because if our life is out of control and we're just doing what we want and killing, stealing, and all the rest of it, then it is said we cannot develop a very calm, clear mind because our mind will just be distracted and rough. It will be a rough mind. Which doesn't mean we can't brilliantly break into someone's house at night and open their safe. It doesn't mean we can't do that. But in the context of meditation on reality, we won't be able to engage in it, according to the great beings. One may disagree. One might say, well, you'd be a perfect candidate to meditate on wisdom if I can break into a house at night and not wake anybody up. But again, we have to think about that a bit more. Why it might be that that's not enough. Okay, so, and in the context of taking care of my feet, if I don't take care of my feet, then the rest of my body suffers. I can't walk around, I can't come to Tushita to conduct lessons, and therefore I cannot earn my salary, stuff like that. So it all depends on taking care of the basics. So morality is the basis. You could say if we are moral in a healthy way, if we're ethical, that's tremendous kindness towards oneself. Tremendous. To think I'm being kind to myself by doing what I want, that is the ultimate modern individualistic ignorant trip. I can do what I want. Let it all hang loose. I'm a cool guy. I can do what I want, As long as it doesn't harm others too much, I'll do what I want. So maybe you have to check that. That may not be so kind to oneself. But some lamas in the Gelugpa yellow hat tradition of Tibetan Buddhism, morality is stressed so much, and of course in all the tradition, but some lamas give another take, which is interesting. They say, actually, wisdom is the most important. So just to be moral in a very rigid way is not so useful. If it's preventing you developing insight and warmth and kindness, to be too moral in a moralistic way could be also a hindrance. So the main thing to work for is skillful means and wisdom. Whatever helps you generate more wisdom and compassion, that is to be practiced. Anyway, Any reflections on your meditation on dignity and gentleness? That's what I want feedback on. Yeah, you are.
You asked if gentleness is weakness. You asked if gentleness was weakness. Well, I think the opposite. Someone that has, well, if you're a weak person, maybe, but if you possess a lot of strength and you know how to be gentle with it, meaning you have control of your strength, that's a real virtue, as opposed to a weak person that can't really do anything.
Sure. Just to be a weak person who's trying to pretend to be gentle in order to protect themselves and not have other people challenge them, that wouldn't be considered real gentleness. We're talking about the gentleness of some kind of authentic gentleness. What would that be? And what's your experience of it? This is what I'm asking. People online, you outnumber us, so I'm asking you first. Anybody? I hope you're not here for entertainment. Sorry, that's a rude thing to say, but I'm saying it anyway. I hope you're not here for entertainment. I hope you have done the meditation and not like me went off to check my phone calls because there was something urgent. So what's your experience of gentleness and kindness to yourself? Nothing. Okay, no problem. Maybe you need more time to think about it. Which is also very fine. Divya, did you show your face in order to say something?
Yes, I feel if we are gentle and kind to ourselves, then only we'll extend our gentleness and kindness to others.
That's true, but wo mera sawal nahi tha. My sawal was, what experience have you had of gentleness and kindness to yourself, if any, in the last, recently? What do you manifest gentleness and dignity in your life? Yeah, sawal ye tha, not theoretical question.
Okay.
Okay, ye to koi bhi keh sakta hai ke that's what we've been saying. Okay, gentle hona, we can be gentle for others, but what's your experience of it?
So good things happen to you if I'm gentle and kind to myself?
Yes, sawal nahi hai, Divya. I'm asking you for your experience, if any, of being gentle and kind to yourself, or dignified, or what you have seen in others, in your experience. We're not having a theoretical discussion about it. You understand the difference?
Yes, but okay.
So when you live at home with somebody, right? So and you have your, when you relate with other people, when you relate with your own, with yourself, are you gentle? This has been the question. Are you kind? Are you patient? Are you dignified? Or are you not so? Are you abrupt? Do you criticize yourself when you do something wrong? Are you harsh on yourself more than might be necessary? This is what we were asking people to reflect on. Yeah.
So it's like mixed. Sometimes we are calm, sometimes we are harsh to ourselves. But this is not the Again, sorry.
You're still speaking in generalizations.
Okay.
Actual experience, like I myself gave of my foot, which I'm taking care of and which is doing me a lot of good. And I feel happy that I did something good for my foot, which is helping me.
Actually, I missed your section. I went
See. Then it's okay. Then you should just listen. Thank you, Divyaji.
Okay.
Just listen.
Okay.
We have someone here. We have Vinuji.
Reducing my tendency in accomplishing.
Just hold on. There's a lot of background noise here. Sorry. Sound. I don't want to call it noise. Ji, boliye.
So I have worked on reducing the typical perfectionist tendencies that I have in undertaking any work. There I have been kind to myself and able to take care of self-loathing.
Self-loathing. Good grief. So you've been a bit sloppy, have you?
Now,
You allow yourself to be sloppy.
recognizing that at times we need to let go.
Wow, good, great. So Vinuji, who is a bit of a perfectionist, has allowed herself to let go sometimes and not feel she has to be perfect, and also to let go of self-loathing. Self-loathing, that's a strong word, no? Self-loathing. But yeah, maybe, yeah, it's there. Good. We have 2 minutes left and then we'll dedicate, because then I'm going out for lunch with some dear friends, including Yoav from Israel. Yeah. Naveen.
Kabir, I mean, when I do shamatha practice, I keep getting distracted, and I get very impatient with myself sometimes, and that's not helpful.
Not helpful?
That's not helpful.
Okay, so Naveenji is saying that he gets very impatient with himself sometimes, and that's not helpful. So do you see any light at the end of the tunnel? Can one become less impatient?
No, sir, I don't know what is the pattern. Sometimes when I get distracted, I can just gently bring it back, bring the attention back, and that seems to be a better strategy. But every time it doesn't work.
Oh, you're talking in the context of meditation.
Yes, shamatha practice.
Yeah. But impatience is there always?
No, sometimes it's
sometimes.
there, sometimes I don't know when it comes and when it does.
Okay, so sometimes there's impatience in the practice of meditation, Naveenji is saying. Sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not, when one is not able to follow what you presumably feel is the perfect way to meditate.
Yeah, when you lose focus on your object.
Of course, but that is not the only point of these meditations. It's to recognize gently and calmly when the mind goes off and just bring it back in a relaxed fashion, as was mentioned by Glenn. Were you there for Glenn's talk? So when Glenn was talking about shamatha practice, he said, when the thoughts come, you relax and let go. So there's that relaxation aspect. We're not impatiently saying, oh no, I had a thought again. In a relaxed way, you see it, you let it go, come back to the breath. All done in a kind of relaxed, spacious way. Otherwise it becomes kind of jerky and one develops impatience. Look, we don't have more time for anything today. We've had a good 1.5 hours and more. Think about, reflect on what has been discussed, what has been mentioned, especially those questions that are there in the posting, and also about basic goodness. If necessary, read up on basic goodness and check whether there is any basic goodness in this world or in yourself. I mean, right now, I'm just feeling incredibly blessed to be living where I am in Delhi. It is just, I feel there is basic goodness everywhere. Maybe I'm deluded, maybe I'm, under the influence of some drugs that I don't know I've taken. But whenever I open my eyes now in South Delhi, I see things to be grateful for and things that are basically good rather than basically bad. And also with people, I don't seem to have any big issues, disturbing issues with people. And I see basic goodness everywhere. And as I say, maybe it's just a passing phase and I'm deluded. But I think there is a basic okay quality to everything. And problems come, from my experience, when I start churning things over in my mind too much and just getting lost in a spiral of unskillful thinking. So anyway, we can reflect on basic goodness, gentleness. These are all very, very important things to think about, because there's a deficit of understanding of these things in our world. There's a deficit. It's very clear from what's happening in the world on all levels, whether climate, whether on everything. our relationship with everything, the earth, animals, each other, the air, the water, everything reflects a lack of gentleness and intelligence and basic understanding of basic goodness. Okay, so let's dedicate that the session, any positive energy or insight, may it help us develop qualities of spaciousness, intelligence, warmth, in the sense of kindness and compassion. May we never be separated from the Mahayana teachings and teachers. May the Dharma last in this universe a very long time, and may the teachers who are able to interpret and embody it last for a very long time. May we always be guided by them. Yeah. May all the sanghas be well and happy and in harmony. May all our teachers have long and healthy lives. And as Shantideva says in his great dedication chapter of his guide to the Bodhisattva's way of life, may beings think of benefiting one another. A simple thought, but a wonderful thought. May beings think of benefiting one another. Thank you all very much, especially those who have joined from far away in Australia and elsewhere, wherever you are. Yeah, so have a good rest of the day, and there's a session tomorrow again, 6:30 p.m. India time. Thank you.